A bold and unsettling breach. Estonia has accused Russian military jets of an audacious violation of its airspace. An incident that has sent ripples through NATO and raised serious questions about regional security. But here's where it gets controversial. This isn't just a one-off event. It's part of a pattern that's testing the limits of international tolerance and alliance unity. On September 19th, Estonia reported that 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered its airspace without permission and remained there for a full 12 minutes. Tallinn described this incursion as unprecedentedly brazen, highlighting the growing tensions along NATO's eastern border. This episode follows closely on the heels of another alarming event. Just over a week earlier, more than 20 Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace during the night of September 9-10th. NATO jets responded by shooting down some of these drones, with Western officials interpreting the move as a deliberate test of the alliance's readiness and resolve. Adding to the complexity, this airspace violation occurred only 3 days after the conclusion of the joint military exercises known as Zapad 2025, conducted by Russian and Belarusian forces. These exercises have long been viewed with suspicion by NATO members, who see them as a demonstration of military might and a potential rehearsal for aggressive actions. Estonia's Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna expressed strong condemnation, stating Russia has violated Estonian airspace 4 times already this year, which is unacceptable in itself, but today's violation, during which 3 fighter jets entered our airspace, is unprecedentedly brazen. He emphasized the need for a swift and robust response, calling for increased political and economic pressure on Russia to deter further provocations. While the Russian Defense Ministry has not issued an immediate comment, it is known that Russian jets frequently fly over the Baltic Sea corridor between mainland Russia and the Kaliningrad exclave, home to Russia's Baltic Fleet. However, the scale and duration of this particular incursion set it apart. NATO quickly responded to the violation, intercepting the Russian aircraft. A NATO spokesperson described the incident as yet another example of reckless Russian behavior and NATO's ability to respond, underscoring the alliance's commitment to defending its members. Meanwhile, the White House and U.S. State Department had not provided comments at the time of reporting. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas was unequivocal, stating through a spokesperson, "This was no accident," suggesting that the incursion was a deliberate act of aggression rather than a navigational error. In response, Estonia summoned the highest-ranking Russian diplomat in the country to formally protest and deliver a diplomatic note. Behind the scenes, Estonia is reportedly considering invoking Article 4 of the NATO treaty, which calls for consultations among members when any member's territorial integrity, political independence, or security is threatened. According to a European source, the Russian jets penetrated approximately 5 nautical miles, around 9 kilometers, into NATO airspace before being pushed back by Italian F-35 fighter jets. The Estonian Defense Forces provided further details. The violation took place near Vindloo Island, roughly 100 kilometers, about 124 miles, from the capital Tallinn. The Russian aircraft did not file flight plans, had their transponders turned off, and failed to communicate with air traffic control, actions that strongly suggest intentional concealment. While Russian aircraft have occasionally crossed into Estonian airspace near Vindloo Island before, such incursions typically last only a few moments. The extended duration of this event raises serious doubts about any claim of accidental entry. A U.S. official, speaking anonymously, remarked, "It's tough to see how this wasn't intentional," noting the improbability that multiple Russian jets could be unaware of their prolonged presence in Estonian airspace. Experts offer varying interpretations. Jakub M. Gatsimersky, a research professor specializing in Russian security policy at the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs, suggested the incident might be a calculated test of NATO's response, or alternatively, a coincidence. However, he acknowledged the broader context. especially considering the recent drone incursions into Poland. Estonia, a firm supporter of Ukraine and a vocal critic of Russia within NATO and the European Union, has faced similar provocations before. In May, Tallinn reported that a Russian fighter jet briefly entered NATO airspace over the Baltic Sea during an attempt to intercept a Russian-bound oil tanker believed to be part of a shadow fleet circumventing Western sanctions. This latest episode raises pressing questions. Is Russia deliberately escalating its provocations to challenge NATO's unity and resolve? How should NATO balance deterrence with the risk of further escalation? And what message does this send to smaller NATO members on the alliance's eastern flank? We invite you to share your thoughts. Do you believe NATO's current response is sufficient, or should the alliance take a firmer stance? Could these incidents be strategic tests, or are they miscalculations with dangerous consequences? Your perspective matters. Join the conversation below.